the Hollywood Unapologetic podcast with Orlando Delbert, Filmmaking Essentials. If you're part of what we call the new Hollywood generation, filmmakers, content creators, storytellers, you've definitely felt things changing fast.
Incredibly fast.
The pace of tech change is just, it's unprecedented.
Yeah.
And it's not only reshaping creative fields, it's changing the very basics of how we find information, how we consume it, and critically, how it gets paid for.
Right.
Think about this future, or maybe it's already here, where just looking for information ends up starving the people who actually created it. It's a strange paradox AI is creating for news agencies and really for all creators.
It really is.
So today, how this digital challenge is reshaping journalism and maybe even your own creative future.
Exactly. And our mission today really is to dissect this thing some are calling the content scrape economy that AI has brought about so quickly. We need to look at the big technical and ethical challenges news organizations are up against, and the strategies, often really difficult ones, that publishers are trying just to stay afloat. And importantly, we want to connect these huge shifts directly to your potential career paths, to the future of telling stories and gathering news.
All right, let's start with something that's maybe quietly, but definitely rapidly, changing the news ecosystem. This idea of clickless search and AI overviews. Think about it. You search for something, right? And instead of getting a list of links to click, the AI just synthesizes it all and gives you an answer right there on the page.
Instant answer.
The information is just presented. What does that actually do to how we find things?
Well, it fundamentally changes how users behave. You just don't need to click through to the original source anymore. And the results for publishers, they've been stark. Honestly, almost catastrophic for some.
How bad are we talking?
We're seeing average drops in website traffic, think 20 to 60%. But for smaller niche sites, it can be much, much worse. Losses up to 90%.
90? Wow.
Yeah. Take the Planet D travel blog. It's a really tough example. After building their platform for 16 years, they reported a staggering 90% traffic drop when Google's Gemini first rolled out.
Unbelievable.
It forced them to lay off staff. And then, tragically, they had to shut down the website entirely. One of the founders talked about feeling betrayed, seeing 16 years of work just evaporate in 6 months.
That's heartbreaking.
And it's not just one story, it's a systemic shock. If you try to put a number on it, the whole publishing industry is looking at maybe a $2 billion loss in ad revenue because of this.
$2 billion?
But the key thing here isn't just the lost ads. It's really a fundamental challenge to the whole idea of valuing original creation. When AI can just copy and spread content without proper payment or credit, well, it totally changes the economics for anyone making anything.
A 90% drop.
Yeah.
That's left like a decline and more like a digital extinction event for some creators.
Yeah.
And this technical shift, this answer economy, it seems to be happening alongside a deeper change in how people get their information anyway.
Right.
We've seen trends, maybe starting way back in 2014, people turning more to places like Reddit or TikTok for news. Are people really ditching traditional news sources for, say, TikTok updates on world events?
It certainly looks that way. We've seen comments, actual users saying they'd trust these online communities, Reddit for instance, with their lives for learning about what's happening globally.
Seriously.
Seriously. But we have to be critical here. While some users trust Reddit, there are huge concerns about accuracy. You see people replying as if stating facts when they actually have no clue.
Right. The confidence doesn't match the knowledge sometimes.
Exactly. And TikTok as a search engine, that's really debated. Some people dismiss it completely, saying it's worse than PragerU on YouTube, leading to, and this is a quote, brain-rotted teens and kids.
Harsh.
Very. But then others point out it can be useful for specific professional content, like the VS Code team, the programming tool. They have a TikTok account giving developer tips.
Okay, so it's nuanced.
It is. And what's really fascinating, and maybe a bit worrying, is that AI models are trained on all these public comments. This feeds into discussions about dead internet theory, this idea that maybe a lot of what we see online isn't human anymore, it's AI generated, blurring those lines of authenticity.
That is unsettling. And this whole trend seems boosted by new AI search engines like Perplexity. I hear some users actually prefer it now over Google or ChatGPT, sometimes specifically because it has a Reddit mode.
That's right.
So users are actively choosing AI summaries that pull from community discussions, essentially bypassing the original news outlets altogether.
Precisely. It shows this growing preference for convenience for the aggregated summary over actually engaging with the original journalism. And this leads us straight into the really thorny ethical and technical fight that news agencies are now facing.
Okay, so with all this content just being scraped up, that brings up huge questions of ownership, right? What about copyright?
Oh, profound copyright challenges. The U.S. Copyright Office is quite clear, using copyrighted works to train AI models. That directly involves reproduction rights.
Reproduction rights, okay.
And they say infringement can happen if a model essentially retains or memorizes substantial protectable expression from a work. It's a legal gray zone, but it's already sparking major lawsuits.
Like who?
The New York Times is a big one. Ziff Davis is another. Ziff Davis claims over 1 million of its articles are sitting inside OpenAI's training data. That suggests a really massive scale of content being ingested without permission.
1 million articles. This whole situation, it's led to this term, content scrape economy, right? And it sounds like an existential crisis, not just for news, but for all creative communities. If Ziff Davis is fighting over articles, what about your screenplay, your music, your digital art? Could AI just be grabbing that, too? There are serious worries that AI companies might be involved in, well, massive piracy. Reports even suggest they might have used data from illegal sites, like Anna's Archive, to build up their databases. That really makes you question the legitimacy of the data these AIs are built on.
And that's where fair use complicates things even more. Under U.S. copyright law, fair use looks at 4 factors, and there's this intense debate. Is training an AI transformative use? Does it add something new, a new message or meaning?
Transformative use, yeah.
Then there's this other controversial idea, data laundering, where maybe a nonprofit or research group builds a data set, perhaps scraping content under research exceptions, and then a commercial AI company uses that data set.
Kind of washing the data's origins.
Potentially. The Copyright Office is pretty firm, though, knowingly using pirated or illegally accessed stuff for training. That should count against fair use. It's also worth remembering that factual works, like news, generally have a stronger fair use claim than something highly creative, like a movie script or a song.
This is incredibly complex. And beyond the direct hit to news and creative fields, there's this other, bigger, ethical shadow AI casts, one that affects everyone. It's enormous energy use.
That's a huge one.
I saw a quote from a VAF CEO claiming that AI in the next 5 years will consume as much energy as we need for the entire world. I mean, if that's even close to true, that's a massive challenge for climate change, for sustainability.
It's absolutely a critical point for anyone planning a future in this tech space. But look, despite all these hurdles, publishers aren't just sitting back. They are responding directly to that drop in Google traffic. They're deploying clear strategies.
Like what? What can they even do?
They're emphasizing the absolute need to build direct relationships with their audience. That means launching newsletters to get loyal readers. It means seriously boosting engagement on social media, especially short-form video. Think TikTok, YouTube Shorts.
Meeting people where they are.
Exactly. And using things like retargeting ads to pull back visitors who clicked away. The main goal is to break free from relying on search clicks and actually build a community around their specific content.
So instead of just waiting for search engines to send people their way, they're actively going out and trying to recapture that audience. That makes sense.
And
are there technical fixes emerging too? Monetization solutions?
Yes, definitely. On the innovation side, look at something like Tollbit. It's positioning itself as a kind of gatekeeper for AI content monetization.
How does that work?
Essentially, it turns that bot traffic, which used to just cost publishers money and server resources, into a potential revenue stream through paid APIs. It's catching on fast. Over 2,000 publishers are reportedly using it already.
Really?
Yeah. And Tollbit's even made strategic partnerships with AI giants like Perplexity and OpenAI, so it's creating this two-sided marketplace where content providers get paid and AI companies get legitimate access, turning a big problem into maybe an opportunity.
That's a clever pivot. Are there other approaches?
There are. Other frameworks are popping up. There's something called the Brand LLM Ingest API that lets brands give their content freely to AI partners, hoping for better visibility, maybe better customer interaction, usually without a direct payment involved.
So more about exposure than direct payment.
Right. And then you have Microsoft leading a project called NLWeb. It's open source, and the idea is to integrate conversational AI directly into websites using structured data. But NLWeb right now has limits. No built-in analytics, no easy monetization tools, and it takes a lot of work to implement for complex sites. So lots of experiments happening, each with pros and cons.
And what about just licensing, like stock photos? Is that happening?
The licensing landscape is definitely evolving fast. Voluntary deals, collective licensing these models are proving they can work for AI. Look at Shutterstock, Getty Images. They're already making serious money licensing their images and videos for AI training.
How much are we talking?
Shutterstock, for example, apparently generated $104 million last year just from its AI licensing deals. So it looks like a clear path forward for creators with large libraries.
That sound promising.
Yeah.
But are there catches? Challenges in making those deals?
Oh, absolutely. Negotiating these unique deals is tough. Different companies have totally different ideas about how to value and monetize content. And just the sheer scale of the content involved makes it complex. It's definitely not a simple one-size-fits-all solution yet.
Right.
And finally, on a bigger scale, you've got this growing push for global regulations. People are debating compulsory licensing, extended collective licensing, different international rules for text and data mining. You see this in the EU, Japan, the UK.
I'm trying to set some ground rules.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Trying to balance encouraging AI innovation with protecting intellectual property. Often these rules include conditions like needing lawful access to the content in the first place and respecting when copyright holders say, opt out, don't use my stuff. It's a global puzzle being pieced together.
Okay, let's bring this back specifically to you listening. The aspiring news pros, the content creators in this new Hollywood generation. What does all this really mean for your careers? AI seems like this double-edged sword.
It really is.
Potential for jobs placement, that's a real worry. But also maybe new roles, new opportunities for people who can figure out how to work with it, how to adapt.
You can definitely draw parallels to what's happening in filmmaking with AI. AI could allow tiny teams, maybe just a few people, to make films that used to need huge budgets and hundreds of crew members.
Right, that indie potential.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It might spark a wave of really exciting indie stuff completely outside the old studio system, making creation more accessible. But we need to be careful. AI isn't necessarily creating more jobs overall. It's mostly transforming existing roles.
Shifting the skills needed.
Precisely. And it can still be a pretty blunt instrument for really complex creative work, the stuff that needs deep human judgment, nuance, emotional intelligence. The key is figuring out where AI truly adds value and where human creativity is still absolutely essential.
And there's another crucial piece, especially for anyone going into journalism or even just putting content online. Digital security. It also gets overlooked, doesn't it?
Massively overlooked. And the threat landscape has changed. It used to be about hacking the big news organization's servers. Now it's often about targeting individual journalists, individual creators.
Directly targeting people.
Yes. And women, people of color, they face disproportionately more online harassment, doxing. It's not just a personal safety nightmare, though it certainly is that. For journalists, having your security compromised can mean betraying your sources. It can compromise whole investigations.
Undermining the work itself.
Exactly. And for creators, it can put your intellectual property at risk or just make it unsafe to share your work online.
So what's the takeaway? Security advice seems kind of all over the place sometimes.
It can be inconsistent, that's true. But the bottom line is developing digital competence, really understanding how to assess your personal risk online. That's not just for investigative reporters covering spies anymore. It's essential for every creative professional today.
A baseline skill now.
Absolutely. You need this knowledge to protect yourself, protect your sources if you have them, and just protect your ability to do your work effectively. And honestly, understanding this stuff better can actually give you an edge. It can inform how you investigate things, how you use data, how you protect your own creative process in this increasingly digital and sometimes dangerous world.
Okay. So we've really peeled back the layers today on how AI is fundamentally reshaping the news and information landscape. We've seen the disruption to old revenue models, the intense ethical and technical fights over content, over copyright, and we've seen how publishers, and by extension creators, are fighting back with new strategies, new technologies. These aren't small ripples. They're waves washing through the entire information ecosystem, and they directly affect the value of the work you do.
So as AI keeps redefining how we find information, how we tell stories, the big question is for you, the next generation of creators, of news gatherers. How will you not just navigate this changing world, but how will you actively shake it? How do we build a future where truth, creativity, and making a living can actually coexist?
A huge challenge.
It's immense, but the opportunity for real innovation, for adaptation, for defining that future, that's immense too for those ready to take it on.
You can find more insights on navigating the entertainment industry and achieving success in Orlando Delbert's work, including his book, Pollyanna's Tear-Soaked Battlefields of Hollywood, a survival guide against the cynicism and the hypocritical, and of course, the Hollywood Unapologetic platform. And always remember, you are the key to your own success. You are the new Hollywood generation.
Be informed, be prepared, and most importantly, be great.
That's it. Be great. Good luck out there.
See you next time.